I'm guessing
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to have one of you do it, and I'm going to watch.
I'm not playing it.
I hate shadows. I'm going to have one of you do it. Welcome to the Kindred Spirit Podcast, a show all about the board game Spirit Island. Here we'll talk about analytics and strategies within the game, as well as a plethora of other topics that can be found within it. Today we dive into part 2 of the Russia Adversary episode, where we'll discuss our survey results, your feedback, and tips for general strategy.
Oh yeah!
Here we go. Alrighty, now we can get into the... Oh no, I started an episode saying alrighty.
Alrighty.
No, I did it again!
Alrighty!
No, we're just gonna roll with it.
Keep going!
The moment I said it, I was like, oh, no, I did it.
Face palm.
Habits die hard. Anywho, you've heard our experience with Russia in our last episode, and we talked about how they work on paper, but now let's get to the juicy stuff, the good stuff.
The results!
Yeah, baby, we have here in front of us the results of our survey.
From you at home!
As well as all of your comments and feedback. So, first things first, let's go see what everyone had to say as to who were the best spirits and the worst spirits.
Oof.
For taking on Russia. I was actually kind of surprised by a lot of these. Some, I was like, oh yeah, definitely. But some, I was like, really?
It made me rethink it and be like, I want to try this person against Russia now.
And there are some where I'm like, really? I didn't think this particular character would be so low. But whatever, that's fine. Like you said,
ooh, such suspense. Which ones are you talking about?
Let's find out.
Ah!
So, let's go see who is the worst. The absolute worst. The bottom 5.
Now, this shouldn't be like such a mark of demotion because Russia's hard.
Russia's very hard. And
11
one thing
difficulty.
That's interesting that I've learned is that if one spirit sucks against one adversary, they're probably awesome against another. So this is one of those very specific instances where we are no longer dealing with general quality here. This is where it gets rock, paper, scissors.
Good point.
Some characters are just the scissors to someone else's rock. Some characters are the paper to this rock, for instance. So this is where you'll have the most amount of thumbs down for spirits and thumbs up for others.
Okay.
So, in light of all this, with the bottom 5, top 5, this is not a general, hey, why do you say that person's lame? It's not that they're lame, it's just that in this very specific matchup, they don't hold up very well because this adversary maybe does this against them, and they're weak in that area. So the adversary is exploiting one of their weaknesses.
Right. And if you're mad one of your spirits ended up on the bottom 5, your fault. Either you voted or you didn't vote for them to be there. So, look at yourself in the mirror.
All right, anyway, so the bottom 5, we have a 4-way tie.
Ooh!
Serpent, Immense Lightning, Ocean, and Wildfire.
It's like a fight for last.
It's a fight for last. But hey, last place on the bottom 5 is funny because this is like where 2 negatives cross out. Like if you subtract a negative, that actually means it's a positive.
2 negatives, yeah.
So if you are at the bottom of a bottom 5, that means you're actually... Well, you're probably the best of the bottom 5. So
the best of the worst.
So that means Serpent, Immense Lightning, Ocean, and Wildfire are the best of the worst crew.
Nice. We should have like the best of the worst game against Russia.
That's a challenge. Yeah, I can see Serpent.
We kind of talked about Ocean, just about that one stubborn explorer that would swim back to shore.
Problem, those explorers will be like, no. It's true that you can kill some of the explorers if you can get them in bulk. But you are going to have some explorers that are just giving you the fingers like, as they just swim on back to shore.
Immense Lightning's interesting because what is that spirit? It's just like a shifting light, like low calorie. It makes
lightning slower, too.
That's true.
Because you're just simply not going to be playing as many cards. So, like, I don't mean slower as in slow power versus fast power, but in this game, high speed and reach of a character is demonstrated by card play, where high strength is demonstrated by energy gain. So if you have very little card play, that means generally speaking, your character is going to be a little bit more slow, and heck, it even says so in Immense.
Card plays get cut in half to 3.
Yep. So Wildfire, I get it. Russia can really add the pain with a lot of blight once they've exploded.
Yeah.
In Serpent's case, Russia
I don't
just
know if I see Serpent.
So I
wanna
think
push back
maybe
on
that one, I think what people are thinking are the whole Russia explodes on turn 3, 4.
Yeah.
And Serpent may be like, wow! Like,
It
not
takes a
quite.
second sometimes for Serpent.
So, there is 5th place for the bottom 5. In 4th place, we have another tie, but this one's a 3-way tie. Mist, Volcano, and Finder.
No.
Both
are babies.
I know. For you, it's Finder. For me, it's Mist. Like, no. How can it be? I can't stand to
say it's not so.
Say it isn't so. So I do see it though, because Mist does have a troubling early game. However, I think that might feed in decently. This is one of those instances where I'm like, I don't think Mist is actually so bad.
No.
I guess I can see why Mist is on the bottom 5 list, but I can also see why it's not on, the worst.
I don't see it as a 4 on the bottom 5.
Yeah, I don't see it on I don't agree that it's a 4 per se. I do agree with the fact that maybe since Mist is a good controller as well, and Finder is as well, you don't want to have 3 explorers in a land.
That's weird.
Right, but Mist has so many damage to 1 invader abilities that are actually really good, which is really good. You can shuffle people around like crazy. So I'm not going to say that Mist is the best. I'm not going to say that it's the worst either. I don't think it deserves to be on this low.
I don't think so either, because you can also group up your presence, as you know, with Mist and do defense if you need to in a spot where there's 3 explorers.
Right.
I don't know. Mist is very flexible.
Right.
As a spirit and positionally on the board. I don't know. Volcano.
Finder...
Well, hang on. I'm not ready to bash Finder.
Okay, well, Volcano can't dwell in many areas.
Also, if you're trying to build up to a bigger eruption, it takes you a little bit of time to get there.
Yeah. So I'm looking for ways in my head that Russia specifically counters Volcano, and I'm not really finding any.
So Volcano, it doesn't really have much defense.
Right.
I guess...
but defense against Russia ain't so hot either. You
can do good damage, but you're not really killing their explorers. I don't see it excelling. It doesn't...
Right, I don't see it excelling either. I see it in the middle of I think there's a distinction between and bad.
Yeah. Does Volcano kill beasts in its eruptions? Hey, editing Ryan.
Who awakens me from my slumber? Oh, hey there, buddy. No, Volcano doesn't kill any beasts.
I guess when it comes to Volcano and beasts, there's no synergy there, so Volcano can't really protect them either.
Yeah.
So, at least Finder can move...
So let's talk about Finder. Finder can move beasts around, so you're not going to lose them.
And can move invaders around.
I'm okay, even if you have a bunch of explorers, they're going to probably blight the land and ravage, but at least they're all grouped up in one spot, and then you can isolate it. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Give Finder a chance.
Yeah.
I think Mist and Finder, I'd push back a little bit on.
I push back a little bit on, too. I see it, though, because I do see that Russia has anti-control tools in its kit, and these are both control-heavy characters. So I can see it, but I don't think it's as bad, but whatever.
Maybe because they don't generate beasts, and
and
there's
Finder
always that
doesn't
scare.
kill a whole lot of people, so they can't take advantage of the free fear that you would get from killing explorers.
Which is also true, but there's no, lost condition to too many invaders on the board.
Right, but then you just be simply allowing a lot of blight.
Yeah.
So in 3rd place, we have another 3-way tie with Green, Trickster, and Base Earth.
Interesting.
This one also surprises me, because as we go down the list here of the bottom 5, this is 3rd place. This means that people considered them pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Trickster is what surprises me, because Trickster adds more beasts out there.
Unexpected
can
tigers.
Move beasts to get them away from problem spots, potentially, and can strife bad guys so that the whole, explorers do double damage ain't so bad anymore. In our first game with Russia, you were Trickster, and you were able to just whap on them.
It was nice with that special rule to adjacently, or in the same land, add strife, because I was having to double strife a land, because that explorer does 1 extra damage. So maybe that's it. The explorer becoming a town.
And Trickster is a defensively minded character, and from what I've seen with all the feedback is what get into, defensive-minded characters aren't really appreciated by the community against Russia. A lot of people don't use defenders according to their feedback. And here in third place, look, Green, Trickster, Earth.
All defensive.
All defensively minded characters. Serpent is also a defensively minded character, in the early game, and Serpent was also on this list too.
I think with Green, it's tough. And obviously you can speak more on this. No Explorer manipulation for Green.
At all.
So
the way when I play with Green to get rid of Explorers is to use your starting card, Fields Choked with Growth, because that one can move 3 Dahan. So what I like to do is I like to get a Dahan into a land where there's an Explorer, prevent that Explorer's build with Choke the land with Green, where you destroy one of your presence on a sacred site to prevent a build.
Yeah.
And now you have a lone Explorer with a lone Dahan when the Ravage phase comes around.
Bye-bye Explorer.
And then you let the Dahan pick him off. So Green is actually quite decent against buildings, but not so great against Explorers, which is why I use Dahan to kill my Explorers when I'm playing as Green.
Makes sense.
And the easiest way for me to do it is move the Dahan in there where there's one Explorer, prevent the build, then there's just one Explorer, one Dahan, Ravage comes, pink.
Yeah.
He cleans them out for you. However, though, that's not going to be so good here, because if that Dahan goes one-on-one with that Explorer, well,
kill the Dahan.
Right, kill the Dahan. And so it's not going to be as worth it because Green already has an uphill battle with Explorers specifically, and I think that's probably why a lot of people did not vote for Green very highly.
Green can prevent Ravages, which Russia does a lot with those 3
that
Explorers.
Is quite useful.
So that is quite useful, but like you said, you are sacrificing a sacred site, so Green would have to do it a lot and probably really limit that spirit.
Right. You'd be very stretched thin.
Yeah.
Earth is not a fast-moving spirit, and Russia can move pretty quick against you.
Yep.
Furthermore, they have the silly Explorers doing bonus damage, so your defend 3 and sacred sites is literally overwhelmed by 3+ Explorers.
Yeah. It's just done for.
You can stop exactly 2 Explorers. That is it. One goes through, that's fine, but if there is literally any more invaders besides 2 Explorers,
which there usually is, a town and Explorer,
which is incredibly easy for Russia,
yeah,
then your defend 3 sacred sites are completely worthless. Ooh, yeah, base Earth is going to have trouble here, as well as the fact that base Earth doesn't have any way to help beasts as well, because they're going to be hunting beasts. I can see that.
I guess my one thing is Green, I'm so used to seeing good at everything.
Right. Yep.
So I'm just like, it's hard for me to see Green on a bottom 5.
It's strange to look at Green in such a low numbers.
The gift of proliferation.
I know, and that's still useful.
It is still useful.
Number 2, the second worst character in all of y'all's opinion was Nightmare. I see it.
Yeah, this one makes the most sense. Easy. I thought Nightmare was going to be 1.
I thought Nightmare was going to be 1.
Can't kill nothing.
You can't kill anything. So at least other characters, when they kill an Explorer, they can get a fear and move it. Well, Nightmare is already moving people, so this new move mechanic is lost on them because guess what? You can't kill him anyway.
Right.
So in a way, it's kind of like more of the same, in a way.
And you want Explorers off the board because there's so many.
There's so many of them.
And they multiply so fast.
I think Russia is very difficult for anyone with controlling because simply controlling Russia will not yield you a victory.
It won't.
You have to control and act, perhaps, against them. You can't just control alone.
Right.
So Nightmare is very good with fear, and
we've kind of saw that a lot of fear really early maybe isn't the best because then that invader card pops up real quick.
You know, I've seen a lot of feedback with Russia on sometimes fear, don't bother, and other people saying fear, go all in. Like, get as much as you can because...
Just rip off the Band-Aid?
Rip off the Band-Aid and just power through it.
Okay.
I guess I can see why, because you want to get done with those stupid bombs in your face that are hidden within the fear deck.
That's a good point.
And on that very specific emotion of their argument, I can agree with it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you gotta kill stuff. You gotta kill stuff with Russia. You cannot afford to just tread water. If you are not making progress, then they are making progress. And you cannot afford for Russia to make progress because they will just go ham.
Because I saw that as many minds where we know that they have no offensive powers.
Right.
So I felt kind of like Nightmare in a way. Obviously, we did well because many minds has Beast and Defense and Dahan, but still, like, that lack of pushback was a little bit tough in the mid-game.
It was.
Yeah.
And then, number 1 for the worst spirit to ever play against Russia, according to you guys, Base Lightning.
Oof.
Base lightning is considered the worst, apparently. This one makes a lot of sense to me. Why? Because lightning is ace on buildings.
Destroys them. Literally, that's the power.
Guess what Russia doesn't care about?
Yeah, buildings.
Buildings.
Their explorers are basically buildings.
Lightning has no defense, which is actually decently fine, but lightning has terrible capabilities to get rid of explorers.
I think maybe if Raging Storm was cheaper.
Right.
But it's still 3 energy.
Right. The reason why Mist was a little bit better with that was because Mist had more powers that did 1 damage to each invader that weren't as expensive.
Yeah, for less.
But still, 1 damage to each invader, you are going to have 1 swimmer or 1 lone explorer who's like, still here.
And I could barely use that power just in general. You have to save up for Raging Storm.
Oh,
You have to make it worth it. So it's not like I could use this every turn to pick off explorers.
And since lightning is so greedy with
energy gain
and power consumption,
everything,
you're going to have lapses here and there in your gameplay, and you cannot afford to have a lapse when they are going. And in our game, we had 2 stage 3 cards on the same build and rapid stuff.
Don't remind me.
What if you were lightning and you happen to be reloading during that lapse?
Lightning needs to have downturns.
You are dead.
Otherwise, you're in that reclaim loop. If you're playing 5 cards a turn, you're never growing.
Blitz lightning would do a little bit better, but still base lightning here would be like, like just absolutely wrecked. I can see it.
Nightmare and lightning makes sense at the bottom too.
So, 5th place, Serpent, Immense Lightning, Ocean Wildfire. 4th place, Mist, Volcano, and Finder. 3rd place, Green, Trickster, and Base Earth. 2nd place, Nightmare, and 1st place, for the worst, Base Lightning. Now let's go and turn things to an optimistic
let's get all that muck off us.
Let's go and examine the honorable mentions, the characters that didn't quite make the top 5, but got dangerously close to doing so. We had 3 that were pretty good honorable mentions amongst all the votes. That is Foreboding Shadows, Travel River, and Stone.
I see all these.
Yep, I can see it. Stone is decent because of the whole, look, there's a lot of bad guys, and the bad guys explorers has a lot of extra damage.
Blight.
Well, if there's anyone who can reflect extra damage back at people, Stone is your guy.
And Protect a Han, but...
Right, and Protect a Han, and the whole Blight thing doesn't really do a whole lot because, yes, you can get Blight from the box, but it still kills beasts.
So it still kills beasts.
It's not the best, but still being able to reflect all that bonus damage is quite nice. Mm-hmm. Then simply, if you're not managing Russia well, they're going to be building a lot of crap on you because of their stage 3 cards that come in quick. And so if they're blighting a lot and killing your friends because of all these blight coming in, you can hold the island fast with your innates, and so you don't have to have your friends die. But that's not necessarily a Russia-specific thing. That's
and you're
more
not protecting the beast, like you said.
Right.
And that is the loss condition.
That's more of just a standard bad guy thing that is just simply a symptom of Russia's gameplay style. It's not a Russia-specific thing. They just have a lot of people. But heck, there's a lot of adversaries that throw a lot of bad guys out there.
Yeah.
So
at times, Stone reminds me of Green, where they're just nice to have on your team.
Yep.
It's just like Stone keeps the island healthier for longer.
In the same way that I was, you know what? Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at Stone like, perfect counterpick to Russia, but it's also not, this is the worst. Oh, come on, we're dead.
Yeah.
Foreboding Shadows, I see it.
I wish they were higher.
I
really like
Foreboding Shadows is really nice. I've played a lot of games with Foreboding Shadows as a friend, and I've been able to spectate Foreboding Shadows just move people around like crazy. Downgrading bad guys, though, isn't so great here because you downgrade them into a town if it's a city, which is like, Or if you downgrade a town into an explorer, it's like, oh, great.
You don't want to do
You
that.
upgraded that guy.
That's a good point. Yeah, they're unkillable.
Because if you downgraded a town into an explorer, now you have an explorer that has just as much damage that it deals against you, but now is harder to kill.
Yeah.
So I can see why that may have prohibited Foreboding Shadows from getting higher on the top 5.
If Travel River is here, then why isn't Finder? Finder is just as good at controlling, if not better.
I think River still has avenues to do a lot of heavy hitting with massive flooding, which Finder doesn't have anything that equates to a damage.
You gotta
attack
have a lucky card
level.
draw with Finder.
So now let's go into the top 5. So in 5th place came Downpour.
Yes, love Downpour.
Yeah, I see it. I can see because Downpour has ridiculous defense potential.
Oh, yeah.
And at first you may think, well, wait, haven't you guys been kind of like
ignore what we
slandering defenders before? Like, just few moments ago. Yes, we were, but the thing is Downpour defends, or I should say can defend, to such a ridiculous degree that it can be quite overpowering.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my word, look at all this defense. That, you could actually probably match Russia's incoming damage with Downpour because you are raining so
because it's
hard.
based on per presence. So
Right.
it really starts to stack.
Right, it does stack really well. Furthermore, isolation can be quite handy here because you can go and if there's a problem land that already has a blight, you can isolate that land so that no one can walk in and whatnot.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's the most crucial thing. I think Scotland is better of an adversary to use isolation against than Russia. I'm just saying isolation can be kind of, pretty useful here.
It's another form of defense where if you're stopping their explorers from coming in, oh, what a blessing that is.
Another just simple benefit, not necessarily against Russia perhaps, but just in general. Downpour can get you your presence back, always good.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Honestly, the more we talk about it, isolation gets better and better because those strong dudes aren't even coming to the island. Well, you can like spread out your isolation by repeating.
Yeah.
So you can kind of like section off a corner of the island.
Yep. Still nothing specific that Downpour has to aid beasts.
Nothing.
And we have to mention that. Why? Because Russia goes against beasts.
Yeah.
So we currently have yet to find someone that we've discussed so far who really does that quite well, which it makes sense to me why Downpour wouldn't be higher on the list.
You could get a lucky card draw and spam like,
Sure, but you can say that for any spirit.
But Downpour can repeat it.
I'm setting the foundation for the top 3. Let me have this.
You're right. Starting hand, nothing with beasts or innate powers.
Yep.
So
in 4th place, we have Base River.
Hey!
Interestingly enough, Travel River was outdone by Base River.
Base River is perfection.
Yeah.
Just a perfect spirit.
You played Russia with Base River a few times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and you do take on blights.
Would you agree with this 4th place ranking?
It's because of massive flooding, like you said. So you are grouping people up, so it is going to blights. But hopefully by the time it blights in the slow phase, you can then wham them, do 2 damage. One guy lives, but you're still doing so much.
A ton of damage. Massive flooding really is underrated by some. And a lot of people tend to overlook the crazy amount of damage River can do in the late game because they write off River at first like, oh, it's a control spirit. Which, I mean, technically you're not wrong, but it's like, look at this awesome innate.
Because you can trigger their innate with a starting 4, that is what makes Base River so crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So even if you don't get cards in your hand that are within your elements, as long as you have those 4, you're fine.
Yeah. So let's go into the top 3.
Woo!
This is the bronze, silver, and gold medalists. In 3rd place, that was just beaten by 2 votes. So 2nd and 3rd place were very close.
Yes,
it was neck and neck. Of all the voters that voted, 52% of them voted for our 3rd place, and 54% of them voted for our 2nd place.
Wow,
so that's just a difference of 2%. 3rd place is Sharp Fangs.
Finally, Sharp Fangs gets their glory.
Yes! As we described in our last episode, Sharp Fangs was phenomenal. We have our very first beast user in this whole top 5. This makes a ton of sense. Fangs can go and add beasts and can add them reliably every single turn, can manipulate them to get them out of trouble and get them into trouble potentially to immediately kill some bad guys so then the trouble's gone. Oh, it's fantastic. Furthermore, you have someone who is also scary. So not only are you killing a lot of explorers, but you're generating fear.
Just from their cards.
And so when you have Fangs, which by the way, a lot of people don't know this, Fangs' number 1 attribute on the summary of powers is fear.
People forget about that. You're right.
People do forget about
they think
that a lot.
Bringer,
Fangs,
Shadows, Mist.
But Fangs is a fear spirit. And so when you have a fear spirit that also helps beasts and uses those beasts to kill explorers to get even more fear.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I were churning out fear ridiculously.
It was insane.
Oh, it was fantastic. It was about 1 a turn.
It might have
been
serious. Too fast.
It was Hey, I'll take it though. So Sharp Fangs, I 100% agree.
I think Sharp Fangs should be maybe higher. I don't know. I might be biased because that game we had, it is one of the best Fang games I've seen.
I'm okay with Fangs being 3rd place because, like I said, look how close 2nd and 3rd place were. That's basically the same.
Coin flip.
In a a roster of 24 spirits, to be third, that's a compliment.
Especially so close to second.
That is a compliment.
Yeah.
To be top 3.
Against one of the hardest adversaries
in the game.
In the game.
So I think this is high marks. I am okay with Fangs being this
Real
high.
quick, this is just so cool that green is near the bottom.
And Fangs is up top.
Oh, what Twilight Zone are we in where green has been S tier for like 4 years, and now Fangs is like, step aside.
What does the world come to?
I love it.
And then in second place, we have, like we said, at 54% of voters, voted for Many Minds.
Many Minds.
I can see why Many Minds took precedence over Fangs, because Many Minds can simply get more beasts out there. And when you have Russia hunting beasts, if you can saturate the field with more beasts, then you're going to be doing a lot better statistically. And who of the beast users can spawn beast tokens more effectively?
Ever multiplying swarm. You add 2 beasts.
Many Minds, baby. Many Minds simply adds beasts a lot better and faster than Fangs can.
One thing I did not like when we played Russia and I was Minds is the removing of beasts. There's a dreadful tide of scurrying flesh.
Yep.
That was
Many
my
Minds
one thing
is great here because Many Minds can get to where you need to go, and as you're saying, can skip actions.
That was nice.
Which is fantastic. Fangs can also skip actions. They can only skip build actions, though, but still, that's really good. Stopping build actions against an adversary that's bringing the pain against you is always useful.
I just didn't like removing them from the game. I'm like, oh no.
And that's one thing I do like about Fangs. Fangs can stop a build without having to lose anything.
Yeah,
Many Minds can stop any action. But that's the pro of that card.
But you have to lose
beasts
in the process.
To do so. Yep. Luckily, though, losing beasts to that is much more preferable than losing beasts to incoming bad guy ravages.
Touche.
So I can definitely see why Many Minds is on here. Luckily for us, we had wonderful luck with the event cards that all use beasts, so you're able to get a lot of damage out there.
Yeah, finally, because I couldn't draft anything with damage.
Right. So you're able to get damage out there because of the events, so that was awesome. And now, our number one. And nobody is surprised to see this. 90% of all voters on this survey voted for Lure.
Oh, that was Ocean.
90.3%. And it's Lure.
Oh, it's Lure. Okay.
It's Lure, baby. Number one. This adversary was made for Lure. We've spoken about this in passing in other episodes, and our opinions are 100% backed up by the rest of you. Lure is the number one counter to Russia. Why? Because you can ignore explorers during ravages.
Wow.
Per presence, you can just be like, huh? There's 2 of you there? No, you're not.
If you have a sacred site, there's 4 of you?
Oh, yeah. Well. Oh, well. I'm sorry. Are you really scary with your explorers? Oh, man, look at them. They can't die very easily. Oh, no, they do bonus damage. Oh, no. And you're just, nope.
Doesn't matter.
You just simply ignore them.
They're entranced.
And it's so easily done, too. It's not like a complicated, oh, man, I have to do, like, all of these things to get there.
But, Ryan, you can't go to the coast.
I am a firm believer that Lure's weakness on the coast actually isn't a weakness. It's not so bad.
It's so easy to gather things. I don't even see it as a weakness.
I know. Softly beckon ever inward is so good, along with Forsake Society to chase after dreams, that your coastal land weakness, it's not that bad.
I feel so foolish because I feel like in the hype list, I was like, this is dumb. I can't go to the coast.
Right.
So now looking back, I'm like, stupid John. You dummy.
Well, and the hype list was made before this came out, so we didn't know.
No playthroughs
we
or
hadn't
anything.
Seen it in execution yet, so I wouldn't get so hard.
Because Lure is like running away one of the top spirits, honestly, for Jacket or for
And
me.
Lure can also spawn beasts and can do damage with beasts. So look, our top 3 are all beast users.
Yeah. Poor
Many
Trickster.
Minds, I know, Trickster is just down there. But hey, to be fair, Trickster is the least beast using character of the beast users.
Yeah.
So that does make sense in some regard. But I do think Trickster wouldn't be 3rd worst.
Yeah.
I'll put it more in the middle.
A little surprising. It's just like you have to strife everything now with Trickster. So that's the one downside.
But yeah, Lure, oh my goodness, Lure is just absolutely phenomenal. Because hey, guess what?
Just slurps them up.
Just slurps them up. One of Russia's biggest, baddest, oh no, this is awful.
They're strong hunters. They're explorers.
Correct. Is there strong hunters, but also their whole competition among hunters. Oh, if they have 3 or more explorers in a land, it will also ravage.
But ignore
explorers. You ignore them. Yeah. So you can nullify one of their toughest perks, which is so great. And the additional loss condition, you can also be like, That's not so bad. You can also neuter that. You can counter that sufficiently.
I like one of Lure's like boon cards, the Gift of the Untamed Wild, where target spirit can either add wilds or add a disease. Because the wilds obviously prevents the explorers from getting to the island, and the disease prevents them from building.
Right.
You only have to deal with that one explorer if they do get through. So, I don't know, Lure's just like every single thing checks every box.
Yep. One thing that's just so fun to do is look at Russia's card, their adversary card, and while you're looking at it, like you said, you can check the box in how, let's see, look at this. Oh, Lure counters that. Check. What about this? Oh, Lure counters that. Check. What about this? Lure might not directly counter that, but they're ridiculously well suited to deal with that. Check.
And just as a baseline spirit, they're a strong spirit.
Right.
Against like no adversary. They're just like a good
They're already very strong already. But if you guys out there who haven't played against Russia, you have to understand how dangerous Russia's explorers are. It may sound silly to be like afraid of explorers, really? But Russia's explorers seriously are genuinely powerful.
They don't go away.
And now Lure can just be like, bink. Lure is the explorer counterer. And when you have a adversary that buffs explorers, that capability to ignore explorers is just magnified to a ludicrous extreme.
It's the cheat code to Russia.
It's the cheat code. So there you go. Our top 5. Downpour, Base River, Fangs, Many Minds, and no surprise, Lure. So now let's go and see what all of you guys had to say, specifically with your comments on tips and your own opinions and strategies and stuff. So, Thomas is here to tell us that, against Russia, I like to have spirits with fear generation. Since a lot of fear cards manipulate or remove explorers, and since buildings usually aren't the issue with Russia, you can sometimes sneak in a fast fear 3 victory as they even help you out with fear a bit with their otherwise pesky explorers. Control is also important to minimize the risk of additional ravages or to save the beast tokens. This combos nicely if you have a spirit with an ability to damage all invaders. Defend is a bit worse since they have the increased damage on their swarm of little dudes. Since they will be moving around a lot, very mobile and far-reaching spirits are helpful as well. Isolation is a nice option too if you are feeling overwhelmed with explorers and you need a break from all the free fear. Or you can just pick Lure. This has to be one of the most direct hard counters to an adversary in Spirit Island. Oh no, they're adding more high-damaging explorers for me to completely ignore. Their innates even revolve around killing these helpless little fellas. If you want, you can add in Many Minds to protect those beast tokens from the pitiful non-damaging enemy. This has the added benefit of adding more beasts for Lure to use in his Explorer Carnage. Yep, 100% agree. Interesting comments, though, on the Isolation is a decent option. Fear is actually a decent option because Russia in Terror Level 1 and 2 are their best because that's where they have all the Fear cards.
Yeah.
If you notice, Russia at Terror Level 3 has only 4 Fear cards to go through. When Russia is at Difficulty 6, fully maxed out, their Fear deck looks like 554.
Okay.
So it is more difficult to get through tiers 1 and 2 of the terror level, but at terror level 3 it's actually going to be your easiest.
Because we really didn't struggle against buildings while playing against Russia.
Not really.
It's just those pesky explorers.
Right.
I love that whole soliloquy and breaking down everything, and then the commenter just said, or you could just go with Lure.
Or you just go with
Lure. I love that.
It's
just like, so you can go this and like break down this equation and this plus this.
You have the long answer and you have the short answer.
Lure.
So. Let me explain. No, there's too much to explain. Let me sum up. Just play Lure.
Pretty much.
Crow tells us that, I'm surprised that Mist isn't coming in higher. Me too. I found its damage to all abilities quite useful against Russia, even if it means you have to settle for a slightly lower energy income. Hey, I'm just as surprised as you. Like we said before, I don't need to see Mist on the top of these charts, but I don't think...
It was surprising to see near the bottom.
I was kind of surprised too because just as Thomas just said, control is still useful even though Russia has some anti-control things. Controlling them is still not necessarily the worst thing ever.
And you can matrix dodge blight if you need to.
I agree with you, Crow. All right, Sheen says, I think fear generation is actually a bad thing against Russia at levels 5+. Getting the extra invader card when you're not prepared for it can be catastrophic.
This is weird.
This is where I also agree.
I'm on two sides of the same coin.
I know exactly what you mean.
Okay.
And this is a perfect example of what I mentioned earlier when I said I'm seeing feedback for both yes to fear and no for fear.
Because didn't Thomas just say that fear was good to rush through the fear
right.
deck?
Well, here's the thing. If you are a fear generator and you are damaging explorers, which give you even more fear, it's like fear on fear. It stacks itself. Yet at the same time, it's like one of those darned if you do, darned if you don't. Because guess what's in the fear deck?
Invader cards.
You get
stage 3 invader cards.
You get extra bad guy cards. And you're totally right, Sheen. Those cards that can come in on the invader track can be so bad.
Back-breaking.
For us, it was really bad because we had wetlands and coastal lands. And for me on D-board, I had 2 coastal wetlands.
Nice.
But, I mean, hey, they say that you should use board F instead of D usually, so I knew what I was asking for. But I wanted to have that one wonderful coastal land that goes all the way in. Anyway, but I totally get it, because we also had the 2 stage 3 cards that were every single land. They had
that is
build
what really hurt us.
Going to every single land. Mountains, sands, wetlands, jungles, and then the next turn, doing all that and attacking. So yeah, I agree. And it's weird. My mind is just as much pro fear as well as it is against fear. This is like one of those don't meddle. Either don't commit at all or go all in with fear.
If this is sounding like Finder's even better, because Finder generates no fear. Nice.
Well, do you know what I mean?
Nothing's moving
it's
in the
very
game.
polarizing when it comes to fear. I don't think you should just dabble with it.
This is like the first adversary. Like, fear is a bad thing.
Right.
It's
because
strange.
if you can go and get those bad guy cards out of the fear deck early, that's actually pretty nice. If you can get it done as soon as possible and you don't have to worry about it anymore, I can see an argument being made there.
But what if as a spirit you're too weak to, like, I don't know.
But if it's not
you're not strong
correctly,
enough yet.
Like Sheen says, it can be catastrophic. And for us, it was really bad. Anyway, Joseph tells us that I've played Stone against Russia twice now, and it's definitely an interesting matchup. Stone welcomes the extra ravages and has no problem destroying everything since explorers deal extra damage, which increases the damage from your second innate. Let them break themselves against Stone.
Love that innate.
But it's awful at preventing the loss condition since pulling Blight from the box still kills any beast in the land that's ravaging. I didn't end up voting for it either for the top 5 or bottom 5.
But it's a different kind of blight.
No, I 100% agree. That's what I thought as well.
Shouldn't Blight from the box be different from Blight from the card? Don't the beasts know that?
For some adversaries, yes.
Okay.
But not for all of them.
Not for Russia.
I agree.
Yeah, Soviets are tough.
They are.
So, that was BGG.
Yep, those were all the Board Game Geeks comments. What did Reddit have to say?
Let's flippity-flop over to Reddit.
Flippity-flop, flippity-flop.
Dachi11, or D-Chi11. I like Dachi.
Dachi sounds cooler.
Okay.
It's more exotic.
Dachi. I like using Lure Deep Wilderness. The ability to ignore explorers and move them really helps since they deal extra damage. Also, being able to wipe out several explorers at once helps clean up the board quite nicely.
So great.
Oh, yes. Again, there's going to be a lot of Lure love.
You're going to see a lot of Lure.
These comments.
I like the whole... I like using Lure. Like, oh, okay, unique... No, it's yes, Lure.
Lure's fun.
This is hilarious. Like, yes, Lure is just the obvious choice. But, you know, someone might say, well, wait, weren't you yelling at shadows? Because if you split a town into explorers, isn't that bad because you're upgrading them? Normally, yes. Because not only are you doing that even more here, because shadows only turned one town into one explorer.
I actually love that card for shadows.
Oh, yeah, same here.
Crops, Wither,
and Fade.
Oh, so good.
And in Lure's case, you're actually getting 2 explorers. So why is it good when Lure does it, but bad
Special rule.
when Shadows does it? Yeah, it's because you ignore him. Okay. It's because you ignore him.
Nick is my name, said, Lure, no contest. The animal spirits, pretty good. Shadows is a sleeper hit versus them. Trickster struggles, and spirits that struggle to go wide have a hard time. What do you think this person means by go wide? Do you think like spread out, like a mist or a downpour or something?
I'm guessing when they say go wide, I'm thinking that, yeah.
Okay.
Like their reach isn't so good. So characters that don't move a lot or don't have a whole lot of range potential. Thunder Speaker doesn't have a whole lot of range potential. Wildfire doesn't have a good range potential. Mist certainly does.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I'm kind of like, I think Mist is actually not so bad.
Downpour. Obviously, mines can spread out.
Downpour.
Yep. So
it's funny because I don't think we're ever going to see Starlight as a pro or con on any of these lists.
Starlight have a beast generating power? No.
I
don't think they did.
That was a thought that just occurred to me. I never saw Starlight anywhere, and I'm like, I don't think we ever will. Do you think Starlight will ever get an aspect?
Whoa, that'd be weird.
Because I don't know.
How do you change Starlight?
I don't...
It's already like the Build-A-Bear.
I know. Maybe you can have a ton of aspects. Let's just swap out all of these different kinds of elements for
I need
other
to play
ones.
Starlight more, but then I feel like I'll just go down this rabbit hole of like, what if I do this build? What if I do no reclaim or majors only? I don't know.
So Lure, they say no contest. Shadows is a sleeper hit versus them. This I've heard in abundance from people on comments here or there,
It's cool seeing Shadows get some love.
Yeah, I would agree that Foreboding Shadows is probably going to be your best bet of the Shadows options.
I like that. Reach is just like the new base Shadows for me.
Right. I'm not saying that base Shadows can't get the job done, because I have seen people in various playthroughs on YouTube actually do play games with base Shadows and do well. I just think that Foreboding Shadows can simply outperform base Shadows generally. However, I haven't done it myself, but they say that Trickster struggles. I'm glad that they don't say Trickster is the worst, because I think Trickster actually does have a few things that help, but I'm not going to say that Trickster is the best. I just, like Mist, I'm like, I don't think I'll put them at the worst.
I have more of an issue with Mist. Trickster, just because there's basically just a million towns on the board because of the Explorers.
Yeah.
But because of that Unexpecting Tigers, that's a nice card to have for extra beasts.
Yep.
Violent Johnny says, if playing 4-player, have many minds and sharp fangs is a no-brainer.
Yes.
Yo! Fear, mild defense, and immense flexibility. Again, people keep talking about this range or reach or flexibility. Incorporating Russia's escalation is a great advantage. If you incorporate random beast events, which helped us, they most often take out explorers, so they're great together as long as you have some heavy hitters in other 2 spirits to clear the board later in the game. If playing 3 or less, Lure is built for Russia.
Yep, this is the worst kept secret.
Yeah, it's like, maybe we should play Lure. Lure is built for Russia by ignoring those explorers during ravages in 1 spirit. I also like River. Yay! Its ability to corral explorers in towns, minimize their damage, and also being able to wipe them out easily when it hits 4 card plays is great.
Yep.
Wow! Rampant Green is almost always good. This is one of its weaker adversaries. I wouldn't take it unless you're playing 4+ spirits to cover their ability to deal with explorers at all.
Yeah. So what we were saying, they agree with. We all kind of also saw the explorer flaw there. The whole inability to take on explorers is quite...
I like your strategy. I'm going to have to try that more, because whenever I play...
For a general game,
no, just for a general game.
Not against
But usually with newer players, I am playing green, and it is a general game of, like, base level difficulty.
Right.
And I don't think I've used Dahan as much as I could. Because you can, like, push 3.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's one of the ways that green has another similar gameplay style to Earth, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is because you're a defensive first spirit that also can benefit from Dahan using.
And 3 is a lot. River can push 3, Lightning can, Earth can. I think, like, Thunder Speaker obviously can. Finder can move a lot. I don't know. 3 is a pretty hefty number in my mind.
But your River getting love here. I see it.
Yeah. Like you were saying, mid to late game, that 4 card plays, and you can just spam your 4 starting hand cards. You can just wipe them out. You are going to take on damage. You are going to blight, because you are grouping up. It's very easy to group up at least 3 explorers with River. Yeah. But hopefully you're corralling them to where they're not spreading out too much. So, hopefully. Pick up an isolation card, maybe.
They have an additional comment.
Oh, I'm sorry! One last note. Ooh. Having a great fear spirit is underrated against Russia 6. Hey, wait, someone said it wasn't good. It has lower fear cards, which you talked about, Ryan, than other adversaries at level 6, so having a spirit able to help get through fear is extra useful here.
It is.
This is another benefit to taking many minds, which we saw, but again, needs spirits to cover its lack of any real offense.
Or event cards.
Event cards.
Many Minds is a beast using fear spirits, so you're going to pair well with there.
Honestly, we text about it. I have nightmares of those 3 fear that we missed out. I'm like, how could I generate more fear as Many Minds?
Waking up in a cold sweat.
I know, just like, I was so close.
I like how they say, it has lower fear cards than other adversaries, when there's only one other adversary that has. That's still Scotland.
It's still a fact.
It's still true.
All right, next comment. TDA.
Yeah.
I've only attempted Russia 6 once. Same. Wait, twice. I used Lure and Memory.
Memory?
And they smashed it. I'm taken aback.
Look at the next sentence.
Okay. Lore is really key one there. Definitely.
Lure is really the key one there.
Yeah. Memory did support combined with big destruction that worked out well, but there are probably plenty of strategies that would work with other spirits. Lore, for 2 reasons. Russia's ravages everywhere with 3 explorers.
Yep.
Lore ignores 2 explorers per presence, so when it lands, Russia needs at least 5 explorers to trigger an next ravage. Lore's second innate, noms explorers by the handful. Remember, you don't need to hit that first level of innate in order to trigger the second. So even if you have no fire, 2 plant is enough to get munching. I love all the eating, metaphors.
I love this. It's true, though. Lure was already designed to take on explorers and is rewarded for killing a lot of them with fear stuff anyway.
And they're innates, yeah.
Right.
What do you think about the memory comments? Just a good support spirit?
Memory is so ridiculously inconsistent and therefore so incredibly flexible that with the correct card plays, memory can be anything. So, sure.
I mean, on turn 1...
You can come in and tell me you had the best game ever and memory was a part of it. I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
You can also say, I had the worst game ever and memory was a part of it. I'd be like, yeah.
I pulled Briny Deep turn 1. Oh, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, you probably wrecked.
Hey, I mean, in my memory solo game, as I told you a bunch of times, and as I posted earlier on our Facebook, I grabbed Paralyzing Fright as like my 3rd card.
Yeah.
And in a solo game, getting 8 fear is just ridiculous.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Right.
When you only need 4 for a card.
That's ridiculous.
I think maybe just in speaking on Starlight and Memory, I should go back to some of the support or oddball spirits.
Yeah.
Serpents. I kind of want to try those out again.
Right.
All right. Jeff Dugan commented.
Who's that?
Huh. It says playtester. I respond to the poll there without comments, poll being from BGG. But from my experience as a playtester, there are 2 main things you're looking for. Explore control / destruction.
Yeah.
This makes Lure very good, while building focused spirits like Lightning, Thunderspeaker, Ocean are abnormally weak.
Yep.
The ability to generate beast tokens in order to replace the ones that will inevitably be lost, Many Minds and Sharp Fangs, are the quintessential examples here.
Yep.
So-
You heard it here first, folks. From the man himself.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. Anti-building spirits suck. Anti-explorer spirits, yeah.
Here's another example of like Lightning, Thunderspeaker, Ocean were the big baddies against England. That was like the top adversary for the longest time. And everyone was like S tier, where people were putting Ocean and Thunderspeaker on.
Right. And even green for thwarting the builds.
Good
as well.
call. And green with preventing builds and ravages. Now, they're nothing. It's so
Once
weird.
again, Jagged Earth coming in with anti-England things. Oh, I'm sorry, the whole destroy building thing, Habsburg. Nope.
Yeah.
Oh no, Thunderspeaker, Lightning, Ocean being good against building destruction. Ha. Nope. So it's like
Explorer focus. I like that Eric and the developers really, I don't know, saw...
yeah, this puts the spotlight on those characters who didn't have it before.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
They saw where the community was playing and who they found was the best, and they're like, okay, we're going to turn everything on its head.
In the post-England meta.
Yeah. It's really cool that now, like we said, Sharp Fangs is just seeing a new light.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next comment. MJ Muleplate.
Okay, you did that on purpose.
It's MJ from Discord.
Hey!
MJ! The best spirits for Russia are Lure, definitely.
That's all he has to say about that. Because if you know MJ, you don't need to know anything else.
MJ loves Lure.
It is the, say with me,
Best boy! Going on, Shadows with an aspect, maybe, question mark?
Yeah.
I'm Ron Burgundy? Those who suck. Any defense spirits. MJ, I don't know.
I can see the
I don't
argument.
know, dog.
I can see the argument.
But Downpour.
I know, but that's because, like we said, Downpour just slobbers the defense to a ridiculous extreme.
Next comment. CSU Azure. Shadows is a real contender.
Direct opposition to the last comment. Last one, Shadows, maybe, with an aspect. This one, Shadows, real contender. Okay.
Gathering Explorers may move
Round
them out.
1, fight!
MJ and Azure, don't fight! Fangs has a decent matchup, but it can get dicey sometimes.
Yep.
Maybe just with like losing beasts or something.
Yep, I agree.
Lure is basically cheating versus them. Similar to being Habsburg versus Stone, it is a non-adversary.
Yep, I agree.
But I like having the cheat code on my team.
Yeah, it's kind of fun when you have it.
Yeah,
who doesn't like a few good cheat codes every now and then? Just
call
to
it
relax.
cheese, but whatever.
Yeah.
Again, it's cool seeing Shadows, typically a deep tier spirits, just being now heralded as a better spirit versus a top adversary.
Yep.
Next one, In the Darkness, Bind Them.
Yes.
Lure's very good. Lightning is terrible. Really struggles to deal with explorers.
Honestly, you can sum up this whole thing right there.
Okay. Wind lightning has, control...
A little bit better than base lightning, I'd say.
I think there's, the third part of that tier of the...
Right, but wind lightning can also shove explorers.
Yeah.
As well.
A little more control.
Yep.
So...
But they hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
The number 1 voted, and literally
That's
the
a good point.
24th voted person.
The 24th. Lore, good. Lightning, terrible.
Yep.
Sometimes you just plain and simple.
Hey, look who's back.
Descupado.
Desacupado.
Get it right. I'm sorry. Spirit strong against explorers with reliable damage powers that also affect explorers tend to do better.
Yep, 100% agree.
So kind of...
Russia is just all about that explorer life.
So maybe now Shadows, with that gather, maybe not the destroy part or breaking them down, but they can still manipulate them around the board.
Yep.
Profane SR.
Profian.
Profian.
Senior.
Oh, it's an elderly.
I don't know.
SR, senior.
Yep.
Lure and Shadows duo for the win.
Short and sweet.
That'd be kind of fun.
I'm going to have to try Shadows now against Russia.
Which aspect would you go with? I'm guessing
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to have one of you do it, and I'm going to watch.
I'm not playing it.
I hate Shadows. I'm going to have one of you do it. I mean to say, I want to do a game with Shadows in it.
I didn't say play. Swipe left. Oh,
I'll be Lure. How about that?
Okay. Oh, wow. How generous of you.
They said Lure and Shadows duo for the win.
I'll be Reach Shadows.
There you go.
Drama Munchkin.
Hey!
Many Minds puts a lot of beasts on the board.
Yep.
Kind of negating Russia's removal of beasts. Plus, they provide a lot of spread out defense.
It's so weird to see your wife's comment when she's not here.
I know, it's weird. I can't speak like Laura.
Me neither.
That is becoming a trend of spreading out amongst the island. Maybe because just Russia just compounds on top of each other and explorers. You need to be everywhere.
And Many Minds can cancel actions.
That was huge.
Oh, that was so clutch for our
huge.
game. I remember times where they had a city, 2 towns, 5 explorers, and you were like, skip it.
Oh, there's no way it could defend all that.
Right, but you can skip it.
Yeah.
So
that was nice. Decideth. We beat Russia yesterday with Bringer and Vengeance.
Oh!
Was a tough one. So are they saying this is bad then? It says because
I want a battle report of that game.
Decideth.
I want to see that
If you're
game.
listening, comment back on this. Respond to
what
this.
level were you playing against?
Because that is interesting.
Right, what level was Russia at?
They beat them.
Right, but what level?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know. What?
Because Vengeance can get very strong in the late game.
Very much so.
And Russia probably blights a lot.
Right, but Bringer was considered 23rd.
Not
the
good.
second worst. So I'm very curious to see.
It's like they wanted to have a bad game.
Yeah. Hey, those people exist out there.
That's true.
Was a tough one, I agree. I have beat Russia, but I'm talking at lower levels. I don't really count that for...
I mean, it's still against an adversary.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying, man, Bringer... Ooh.
I don't know.
Hey, I tip my hat to you. Props.
Yeah, good job.
Props.
Good job.
Good job.
Pandemonium Hearts.
Hey.
I had an amazing game against Russia 5, Habsburg 1. Again, these people are crazy. I'm not there yet to have double adversaries. The other day playing Major Power Starlight. Starlight!
Well, I even mentioned Starlight
You
earlier.
did!
How about that?
In a 5-player game, getting an early sleep and never waken. Now, you had drawn that card before and used it.
I did.
You like that power.
I did.
I guess in the right
that one
circumstance.
surprised me, actually.
It can be very helpful.
Sleep and Never Waken says that invaders skip all actions in target land. Then you gain 1 fear per 2 explorers this power removes.
Oof.
Remove up to 2 explorers.
Oh.
Then, if you have enough elements for the threshold, remove up to 6 explorers from among your lands.
Now, remove.
It's a anti-explorer card.
And
of course, against Russia, this is going to do phenomenal. So getting that card and getting it early,
had to be game-changing. And remove is not damage, correct?
Nope.
So they're just gone.
Bye.
The extra health? Don't matter. Sorry, let me finish the quote.
Well, they don't have extra.
Whatever. They just don't die. You know. Think I only blighted once on my board.
Nice.
What? By just playing it over and over again. It's probably the single best power against Russia.
Agree.
And any major power spear that gets it can wreck Russia if it can hit that threshold.
Oh, goodness, yes. I agree. I mean, that card was made to take them out.
Man, I wish we had drawn it.
I know.
I didn't see it.
I never found it.
No, it was probably at the bottom of the deck.
I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, though, because I'm going to log that in my mental filing cabinet of, ooh, this card is good against them. So So
Another
if I
counter
find
pick.
it, like in the deck, make sure to grab it.
It's so much harder now to like fish for major powers. Like I would usually try and look for Power Storm in the base game because I just love that major.
Oh yeah.
But there's so many powers now.
There are. For me, it's always Jungle Hungers.
Okay. Jungle Hungers, yeah.
I love that card. That and Unrelenting Growth.
Oh, but those are harder to find now.
I know.
Or Thunder Speaker had, they're like Dahan power.
I know, and the more expansions we get, the more major and minor powers we get in each deck, so it's going to be even statistically longer to get to each of these.
Yeah, it's harder to like have my favorites.
I know.
Lame. VZ Ree.
Hey! Or is it Ray?
Ray?
Rai?
I just wanted to go Ree. It's probably Ray. Anyway.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, give us the pronunciation.
There you go.
Many Minds move as one is very strong versus Russia, in addition to Lure of the Deep Wilderness.
There it is.
Many Minds can easily manipulate Russian explorers early to not cause additional ravages and keeping the land safe.
Yep, that's what you did.
Yeah, it was nice to have that defense and control. Additionally, the Beast events generate massive chains of fear and will end up killing off the lingering explorers as well.
It did.
Boy, did we get such lucky
We
cards.
got so lucky. I don't think I'm going to get that lucky again.
Well, yeah, we've had most of our other games the worst luck of events. Anyway, Many Minds is great at beast generation when playing with others. We'll have a plethora of extra beasts to connect the hive since Russia starts with an additional one per board.
Yep.
That was pretty clutch. Just
It
having
was.
that one extra for
It
fangs
was. It was
and
more
Minds.
ammo for any of the beast users.
Yeah, both our armies are already stronger.
Right.
While your teammates may be sad, you'll be able to start handling every escalation plus your fellow spirit escalations that Russia throws at you because of Dreadful Tide of Scurrying Flesh. On top of immense fear generating, your control and defense easily thwart any plans Russia may have had.
Yeah. Seriously, Dreadful Tide of Scurrying Flesh is probably one of the best cards to thwart Russia's schemes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness. It was so cool to watch you go all over the place, then cancel
both of
all
us.
of Russia's stuff, and then have an event just shred them.
I swear, in one turn, we were in like 4 different lands.
Yeah.
It was just so cool to see our armies all over the map.
Right.
I've never
it's
seen
great.
in any game, I think, maybe in a Thunder Speaker game, but usually I'm not that mobile. To like see 2 fellow spirits going everywhere.
Seriously, that was cool. And to use beasts against them, because there are a lot of them. I was adding beasts, you were adding beasts.
We should have had like a total count, but
We
the
should
land
have,
was
yeah.
covered.
Oh my goodness, so many red tokens. there. It
Listens,
was
yeah,
great.
just imagine a lot. And then add a couple more.
Yep.
Benign Oracle. Shroud is not terrible.
Thank you.
Since it has 2 unique powers and an innate that can split damage to each invader.
Yes.
Why aren't more people talking about this? Again,
I know.
we need to have like a fear spirit episode and just talk up more things and miss. Sorry.
I agree.
This plays into misdamaged town cities without destroying for fear and energy generating. Since Russia does not accelerate the amount of building like other adversaries, it can keep up better. See, this makes sense to me.
Yep.
You've said that miss is maybe a little bit slow in the first couple turns.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can get a handle on controlling and not letting things build up because there's no adjacency
Well,
builds.
the thing is Mist to me has one of, if not the best mid and late game power I've seen. Because you have both of your innates that in the mid game, once you're triggering both innates, you can stop and handle both explorers that come in on you every single turn.
Against Russia, that's incredible.
And if you can stop every single explorer, that means all of your cards can go and be 100% worry-free about the incoming explorers because your innates already have it covered.
Right.
Then your cards can just be used to just kill people, just slaughter them. Then one of our biggest problems with Russia before was that since they don't use a whole lot of buildings and since there's not a lot of them out there, you're not going to be killing them and therefore not getting a whole lot of fear from killing all of them.
There's not many cities to get too fear from.
So Mist is perfectly equipped here to just, of the few buildings that are there, just keep them wounded, keep them at 1 health, and milk them for the fear that you need.
Every turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of now want to have a Mist game versus Russia.
I'd like to see it.
That'd be really cool.
Thank you, Benign Oracle.
A. Nara says, another thing to consider is the ability to destroy many explorers at once. Volcanoes' 2 large eruptions, as well the spread damage from Wildfire or Keeper, managed to do this.
Oh, wow.
Oh, well, that's a new take.
I like it. Diverse opinions are actually something I actually really enjoy here.
Me too. You could also include River, as it collects invaders into the same land with Wash Away and then clear them with massive flooding.
Yeah, massive flooding.
So that we have talked about, but what about Volcano, Wildfire, and Keeper?
Well,
that they're bringing up.
Russia does populate quite fast. They explode, and they have the propensity to just be like, yo, I'm here! And there's a bunch of them. So, I mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing to just go kaboom!
And just go blammo.
Right. And just smack everyone.
I am just seeing wildfire in almost every game scenario now. It's just so fun with the spirit.
Ever since the Blight.
The Blight thing, Badlands tokens with Jagged Earth, better Blight cards. Wildfire is just becoming more and more stronger in my mind. So yeah, I see this.
I'm glad to hear that,
okay. Honestly. I still like Lightning. Yep. Lightning's Boon's fun.
Oh yeah,
Wildfire
is addicting. Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Keeper that they mentioned?
That one's interesting to me because Keeper does have some movement struggles.
Right.
I could see that being a problem.
Russia
I can see that.
Could blight early and quickly.
Right. Luckily, Keeper does have some blight removal capabilities.
True.
That's good. That's nice.
It could hinder some of the growth for Keeper.
Yeah, it could. But they're just talking about spreading damage out there, and Keeper can be quite damaging. So, hey, just as a very simple emotion to understand, that's quite good. High damage.
I think Russia is just like the anti-S tier.
Yeah.
Against spirits, like the Greens, the Thunder Speakers, the Keepers. People are like, maybe they're not
It flips the script.
It does.
Yep. Oh, I wonder if you pronounce her name Ayanara.
Oops. Ayanara.
That could be.
Like
I don't
Sayonara.
know. Yep.
I'm very bad at pronunciation.
When it comes to internet gamer tags
Especially
and
Reddit.
Profile names.
Y'all, help us out. Look at this next one.
Oh, this one's cool.
Is Zaruskafire?
Lazarus Skyfire.
Oh, that's an L. I thought that was an I.
Well,
Lazarus Skyfire.
Well, here the program has it underscored.
Yes.
So you can't really tell if it's an L or an I. It does look like it.
Lazarus Skyfire sounds cooler now.
It does, yep.
The Phoenix.
That's cool.
Just to add some new spirits to the discussion. Nice.
Yeah.
Downpour has something pretty useful to contribute. Widespread defense allows you to deal with that extra damage from explorers, and isolation allows you to actually kill explorers. That's an interesting way to put it. You kill them by never letting them get there.
Once again, I see that I am needed. While it is true that
I'm sorry you had to hear me like that. While it is true that isolation can be used to stop an explore action from successfully going off in a particular land, I believe that Lazarus Skyfire was referring to something else. Something that is actually very important to know when you are going up against Russia. There are two things to be reminded of here. The first of which is that the effects of isolating a land are optional, meaning that the player can let the invaders in an isolated land use some or all adjacencies for a given action if they so choose. The second thing is to examine the particular verbiage that is used for Russia's level 2 ability, which verbatim says, the first time each action would destroy explorers. If possible, one of those explorers is instead pushed. Generate 1 fear when you do so. The important thing here that I want to highlight for you, dear listener, are the words if possible. This means that if it is impossible for an explorer to be pushed out of a land, Russia's level 2 effect no longer applies, and thus that explorer would die like normal if they were to be destroyed. Combining with what we heard with isolation being optional, this means that the players have a choice to make when damage is dealt to explorers in isolated lands. Isolating a land and choosing to cut all adjacencies to it would therefore make it impossible for those explorers to be pushed. However, if you do allow adjacency, one explorer will survive, but you will generate fear for doing this. So, to clarify everything I've said here in an example, a land has 2 explorers in it. I isolate that land. Let's say I then use another power to deal 2 damage there. I now must make a choice. Kill both and generate no fear, or kill one of them, push the other, and generate 1 fear. The player has some flexibility here, and I see the value in choosing either option from time to time, depending on the situation. I think it's important to be aware of this choice that is given to the player. Listening back to the episode, I believe this is what Lazarus Skyfire was referring to. Okay, that's enough from me. Back to you guys.
I don't think that Downpour is at the level of MM, meaning many minds, or Lure.
Yeah.
But it has some strengths that counteract with what Russia does. Keeper is another one.
Here we go.
That holds up against them because the use of wilds reduces the total number of explorers on the board. So isolation wilds preventing explorers, this person's really holding up. Hence, reducing the number of extra ravages that might happen because it is Keeper. Once you hit a certain point, you can destroy anything with relative ease.
That's
like you were saying. You can go boom boom late game.
Mm-hmm.
Another one to consider is Resilience Earth.
We talked about this.
Yes, since Blight is the specific condition that destroys beasts, if you block Blight generation, you save the beast.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond this, Earth will depend more on major power draws, kind of becomes like a shifting memory, and good defense of the Dahan to actually fight back since their base kit is so defensive. Base Earth can work as well since the core set of 1 Explorer plus 1 Town only deals 4 damage, meaning Earth as Holy Site is sufficient to stop a Blight as long as you don't have extra Explorers or Towns.
Meaning an Earth Holy Site.
Oh.
Talking about sacred sites, meaning one of their sacred sites.
This combined with an Explorer, moving power allows some control against Russia. I forgot about Resilience Earth. We had mentioned that.
Yeah, Resilience Earth, I think, is just the best version of Earth that you'd have.
Against Russia specifically.
Correct. I would still put that on probably the better side of middle.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, not bad, but actually pretty decent.
Pretty
still
decent.
not top 5.
Not
but...
a lot of Blights coming through. Some prevention of, like, skipping actions.
Yeah, I won't put it on the top of the list. Maybe top 10.
Yeah.
Maybe not top 5 or 3, but top 10, maybe. Top 12.
I think it helps because they can't generate beasts, like, from a starting hand or powers, so you are at least protecting them from the Blights. All right, next comment. Willow8383. I've had fun and good success in a 4-player against Russia with what I call the Jumanji team. Welcome to Jumanji.
Jumanji.
Lure, Sharp Fangs, Many Minds, and Finder a Pass. Woo!
Yeah, there he is.
Keep them off balance and gobbled by rampaging beasts.
There you go.
Finder is probably the least critical. Hey! But it worked well to stack a bunch of beasts in one land and have Finder shuttle invaders there so Fangs could do some big damage, ranging hunt every single turn.
Yep, 100% agree.
We
Lure,
love
Sharp
theme
Fangs.
teams.
Yep, theme teams are so great, but Lure, Sharp Fangs, Many Minds, yep, that's the top 3.
I love that Finder was just like, and Finder was there.
Hey, hi.
Basically, they're saying any control spirit that can push a lot of people in one spot.
Yep.
That was the Reddit comments.
All right, and our last comment is from Mr. Wolf once again. I don't have that many games with Russia, maybe like 10, but I'll speak from my limited experience here. Generally, postponing is a great idea, so you can destroy more explorers at once, instead of just moving one. The problem rises at level 3, where lands will ravage if there are 3 or more. So you need to do something versus that. Their building game is their weakness, and they even generate fear for themselves. So these are 2 things you can exploit. One strategy is to focus on fear, because Russia is dangerous and ending fast would be pretty smart. You also don't get that much fear from building, so you should at least consider this. Strong explorers and normal builds also mean that some spirits generally made to deal with buildings aren't as strong, in my opinion. Like Lightning, for example. But Lightning is always strong regardless, since his combo potential is through the roof, and pinging one structure is never bad. Lightning Pandemonium would be quite promising, though. I bet you'd need more defenders than in the usual game, since their strong point is mass ravage, like England's build, especially explorers are very dangerous. And these are the ones who you can usually just ignore with other adversaries, with the exception of France. That said, first hunch is that a spirit who ignores explorers instead of destroying them, looking at you, Lure, is incredible and almost made for fighting them. Some who are not really affected by explorers' strength and tenacity, or beast destruction, and can move a lot of stuff around, like Bringer and Finder. And as said, defenders, like Downpour, who can defend a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Stone, who's the master postponer, and gives you more time, which is a blessing in Spirit Island. And of course, the ever OP Spread of Rampant Green, who can just prevent stuff whenever he wants. That said, supports and supportive powers, like usual, are great, because you need to get the good stuff fast, since Russia is dangerous. And of course, beast spirits who can overwhelm the board with beasts, so you don't lose unfortunately because of the additional loss condition, especially Many Minds, who also has action cancellation and defense plus fear, which in my opinion are all pretty important against Russia. One thing I also saw is that you get the first 3 turns of breathing room, and then Russia explodes, especially in the later difficulties. And it also counters your fear a bit, so maybe postponing is still better than fast fear generation? I think you can also be a bit less worried about Blight, since at level 6, it's almost a requirement to Blight, which makes Stone look even better. For spirits who are bad against Russia, I'd say are those who blight or have no defense. Also, small pings of one explorer are quite useless here, since it doesn't do anything spectacular. So, yeah, weirdly, most of the spirits fall off this way, and I'd say Wildfire especially bad versus Russia.
Ooh.
That's why I'd say Sharp Fangs is only good with many minds also present in that game, while Trickster is questionable. I'll try to investigate more and report on my findings, because I'm sure I'm missing something here.
Thanks, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah. Another thing I thought about is that when you destroy an explorer, they might just get pushed into the ocean, if you know what I mean. It should be a fine addition, I think, but I don't really know how drowning interacts with Russia's special rules. In closing, Lure is insane against it, almost made for Russia. Others still persist. While I'd like to add our always useful Earth's resilience and mention stone, again, Russia is surprisingly easy versus a lot of beasts, like going against a beast team like Many Minds, Sharp Fangs, Trickster, and maybe even Lure. Well, unfortunately, to immediately comment on pushing an explorer into the ocean, unfortunately, they just swim on back.
Yeah, we looked up that rule.
Yeah.
All of Ocean's cheese is gone.
I know.
The insta-kill that Ocean had.
There's a lot of interesting comments here, though, because I'm seeing a lot of people saying yes to fear, no to fear, yes to defense, no to defense.
Some people
are like lightning, no. Other people lightning, yes. Some people green, no.
Some people like
green,
Trickster,
yes.
No. Some people like Shadow, some people say no.
Right. I think it's kind of cool to just simply look at these things to make you think and look at the combinations of things.
Yeah.
Like Vengeance and Nightmare.
What a combo.
What a combo.
A lot of fear.
And then Memory and Lure?
Honestly, Mr. Wolf saying Pandemonium and Lightning, I'm like, maybe. If you just like Strife enough.
I mean,
that's
a
lot
ton of Strife.
And Pandemonium has tons of fear.
The thing is that they can congregate a lot of bad guys, Russia, I mean. And Pandemonium Lightning can really throw out a ton of Strife.
Into one spot.
But it's only in one spot.
Right.
But that actually can be useful here, so...
that could work, and lots of fear.
And it's a lot of fear, too. I mean, you can get, 11 fear?
Oh, yeah.
Fully maxed out
it's
Pandemonium?
Insane. And with
just
Lightning,
that 1 and 8?
And Lightning can get a card plays real quick.
Oh, yeah.
So, you're right. It is just, all these differing opinions. That's why we included them all, because we wanted to, give the wide array.
Right.
Yes, a lot of people did say Lure.
Yeah.
But we had a ton of other ones.
Right. I still want a rematch as Many Minds and Fangs.
Oh, yeah.
Against Russia.
We have it in us.
Heck, we did it.
We did
all of what was necessary to do it. It was just the fear cards. 3 fear cards couldn't get us 3 fear tokens.
We were so close.
And an event card couldn't get us 3
nothing.
fear tokens. Ugh.
Miss after miss.
All we needed. That's all we needed. 3 fear tokens from those 4 cards.
I think we got it in us. We could do it.
I think we'll
do it again.
I think we can do it.
You still don't want to bring Lure into the game?
Like you said, it's a cheat code, and cheat codes are fun. I want to see if I can do it without it.
Okay.
I want to see if I can do it without it.
This is a weird one that no one's mentioned. I'm trying to think of oddball, off-the-wall type spirits. Fractured Days can bring back Invader cards back into the fold and maybe slow them down even more.
I didn't see Fractured mentioned once for yay or nay.
People don't think of the Time Lord that often.
Well, I mean, Fractured doesn't have a whole lot of presence in the game. Usually they do start with 3, which is actually more than usual.
But usually you want your presence as your quote-unquote time tokens that you can spend to use your cool powers.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have no idea how Fractured would fare here. Fractured's gameplay heavily depends and changes based on what cards you have.
It's another shifting memory type.
Right, kind of, because you can apply cheat codes to all your cards. Awesome, cool, sweet. But that kind of depends on what cards you're getting.
Yeah, in the Days That Never Were deck.
Right.
Because if you could get a whole bunch of salad or crap,
right.
You know?
Think of it, you're adding a multiplier like ×2, ×3 awesomeness to whatever cards you're playing. So if your card was 3 strength, ×3, that's 9 strength. Yeah, what if it's a 1 or a 0?
Yeah.
If you're magnifying a bad card, or a card that's not good for you in this situation.
Yeah.
So if your card plays really screw you over, I can see you having a tough time with Fractured.
Same with memory, like you were saying, if they don't get good cards in the early game.
Yep. But if your cards are great, heck, you might go ham.
Yeah. That's a tough one to main, I feel.
Yeah.
Shifting.
I think there's a lot of so much inconsistency there that the best way to main the spirit is to simply memorize all of the functions, all of the ways the character works, all of their capabilities, all of their innards, their guts, their wiring. So it's not necessarily I can point to a thing on a chart, do this for turn 1. This isn't a Fantaskippy guide where it's like do this and this and this and this and this and this. Perfect, sweet, awesome. It's like it kind of depends on your card draw.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what? You memorize the capabilities and apply that that mental thought process of this character to your situation.
And for Russia, I don't know if I want that risk of chance.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
When you're going against the baddies at difficulty 11, I don't want to hold my breath and close my eyes and see what I'd pull.
Right, and I think that's reflected here. Nobody brought them up.
That's true.
Nobody. Out of all the people here for yay, nay, pro.
Nothing.
No, nope, not even once.
Beast users got some
Starlight
praise.
got mentioned.
Starlight got mentioned. Again, was a lucky draw.
Yep, it's true. Ooh, Russia is a chore, aren't they?
I don't know. They are fun, though. That was a fun game.
That was so much fun.
They put the game on its head. You have to worry about explorers more than I've ever had to.
Right.
So what's cool is hearing the community response.
I love it. No, it's true. And this was probably the most diverse of feedback we've ever gotten.
Yeah.
Even with everyone saying lore, there was also a lot of other feedback in there that I thought was really interesting.
We hope that you're liking these episodes, listener at home, because we love hearing you contribute.
Yeah. It's kind of cool to see those names again. Hey, just like Kubo.
Yeah, the steadies.
Yeah.
So, oof.
Yeah. The harder that some things are, sometimes it's the game gets more fun when the stakes are raised.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably why Russia is so commonly fought nowadays, because they just simply raise the stakes to a level that most other adversaries just don't.
And the spirits that we've gotten so used to, the thunder speakers and the oceans, are now kind of useless.
Right.
So now people have to maybe pull out shadows for the first time in a while.
Right.
And play them. Or sharp fangs, who people have forgotten about, type of thing. And now are becoming S-tier spirits.
Yeah. Well, we greatly appreciate all of your input, all of your votes and feedback, and we look forward to seeing and hearing what all of you have to say for our future ones, like Habsburg.
Habsburg!
Woohoo! So, until we get to that one, that's all for today. We will catch you guys on the flippity flip.
Bye, guys!
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Kindred Spirit Podcast. We appreciate you taking the time to do so. Feel free to visit us on our Instagram and Facebook page. You can find me on our Facebook page at The Kindred Spirit Podcast. To get a hold of John, check out our Instagram page at the KSP123. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in future episodes.